about the Bored Apes?
Yeah, I've heard about the Bored Apes. Yeah.
Bored Ape.
Yeah. Are they all different occupations and stuff?
They do all sorts of stuff, and they're bored. They have that little look on their face. How bored they are.
They're bored apes. Are they like dentist bored apes and accountant bored apes like that?
No, I'm looking
What
at
are
the
they?
Bored Apes right here. They might have a helmet on or a
And what
hat.
does one of them go for? What would the most expensive bored ape?
Oh,
7 figures?
I don't know if there's 7. There's some here, easily 6. $200,000, $150,000. There's 101.
You know
Bored
that
apes,
that was one of the points I made. You probably weren't watching, but last week was that what's overvalued, the bored apes or the currency being used to buy the bored apes? Is it really
Ethereum.
$200,000? No, yeah, or is it really $200,000? And what is $200,000 worth given what the Fed is doing? So I don't know. It's all we talk about it like it's right, but is it 10 overpriced cats for 5 overpriced dogs? Is that what you're exchanging? That's the old,
or for 5 Bored Apes.
right, or for 5 bored apes versus pudgy or overpriced pudgy penguins, which I said I wouldn't mention again.
We won't know until the Fed stops.
That's right.
We won't know.
Right. Price discovery, which would be nice.
All right, making headlines this morning. New data shows 2021 is on pace to be the busiest year ever for deal making. Dealogic reports companies have announced mergers and acquisitions worth more than $3.6 trillion globally during the first 8 months. That's the highest at this point in a year since at least 1995. And speaking of M&A, 888 Holdings confirming it is in advanced talks with Caesars regarding a possible acquisition of the non-U.S. business of William Hill. State Street is buying Brown Brothers Harriman's investor services business for $3.5 billion in cash. This includes its custody, accounting, fund administration, global markets, and technology services. Now let's get to the broader markets. Mike Santoli joins us from the NYSE. We're talking, Mike, about how September is a new beginning after Labor Day, but it's also the start of the talk of a rough October, difficult fall. Muscle memory brings us back to challenging times.
Absolutely, Melissa. No, I was listening to it, and there absolutely is a sense that the market has perhaps given investors a little more than they expected, maybe more than they think they deserve based on what's going on in the world, and that's visible in the S&P 500 right now. I think it's plausible and it's to be expected that we brace for a little bit of give back. Doesn't mean we get it, but I think that's why the mood is there. So this has been an unusually smooth and steady advance in the S&P 500. Now, it has obscured a lot of kind of rolling setbacks in sectors, especially cyclical and sort of high-risk sectors that peaked 2, maybe even 7 months ago, depending on what you look. So it's not as if everything was up every day contributing to this move in the S&P 500. In fact, take a look at the IPO index. Take a look at solar stocks. All of these areas of the market, even SPACs, of course, they had their peak back in February, and to one degree or another relative to the S&P 500, they have vastly underperformed since that point. So there have been resets. The crowd has moved on from one group of playthings to another. You've been talking about the apes. I've been struggling with whether you can still ignore a lot of that kind of wild stuff going on along the edges of the market. But if you tell an investor coming in on September 7th that, hey, you know what, growth's a little...
All right, so welcome back to the Big Long here.
It's already been happening. We've already seen the cyclical side kind of brace for a little bit of a tougher...
Let's get this out of the way. Alright, so we got futures and the green. NASDAQ is flat right now. US 10-year pushing up. Now, this is something to watch as we need to stay within that range of like underneath 1.5 to signal some strong economic growth and optimism. And then the dollar index, you see some green here, as well as the VIX popping back up over 17 today. Crude oil is down. So let's get into the stocks. So today, so far, unusual options. We got SPRT, Moderna, Rover, ENBB, GPS, CCG, or J, sorry, as some unusual options call, as you think like this expiration date is December, and then you see April, as well as the new year of 2022. And then we have the total options put to call ratio. So we have the total is 0.68, somewhat bullish. Index 1.51, so it's up around that range that it's been hanging out around. And then the equities 0.42, so equities are remaining extremely bullish, as this is why some of the markets are just rising up, and the ETFs, right, and indexes, is just because they're being carried by big name companies because of the option market. So as we're looking at the most active options traded, right, we got Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Plantar, CCJ, AMC, Pfizer, and Amazon. So out of those, 1, 2, alright. So we got Pfizer, which is unchanged at the moment, right? Which is interesting because of the COVID play. And there was a new variant called the Mu that has supposedly created an outbreak on that. So that's something to keep our minds on as school goes back, reopens. More and more people are trying to fight the mask mandates depending on where they are. So that is something just to keep your minds occupied with, is as that happens, will we see more people pull their kids out of school, or what will be happening with that? So that's another story or a conversation from another time. So while we're here in the index options, right? So we got 38.8% calls for the Dow, as well as 61.2% for puts. Now that's extremely bearish. And as you can see, all the other ones are extremely bearish. The only one that honestly you could give a fight for is the VIX, but the VIX, right? So the VIX is the inverse relation. So if calls are bullish here, that means we're expecting a drop off in the indexes. So the only one that you could really say is somewhat close to being bullish is the NASDAQ 100, and that's because of the big tech names driving that up, and like triple Qs in there. So that's just something to be mindful about as we are getting into September, and typically this is the worst time in the markets. I mean, people are going back to school, summer's over, people are reshifting their gears after a long weekend of seeing family, friends, and having a good time. So what I want to get into right now is some charts. So we got BBIG right here, right? And I believe they are actually down in pre-market at the moment. Yes, they are. So they are actually down pre-market, not by much, but this is a short squeeze alert that I'm looking at. You could see now this is the daily chart. You can see we had this big pop off here, right? And we actually had a pullback here and retested almost that previous high almost. And you could see obviously the strength was above it, and just going off of that, we're holding this fib line pretty well here, and hopefully we don't have a sell-off, as this could really, if we hold this and the short interest impact still remains as is or increases, this could be a huge play. Now we did hit that high of 1190, right? So right now that is our ceiling looking at it from this short time frame. And the reason I say that is because we zoom out, we passed it right now. There's resistance at this level, but if we break out of that, there could be a very significant move upwards. So BBIG is on my radar, and like I said, it is down pre-market right now. Oh, I didn't realize it showed it right there. So that is something to be mindful about. Now, what I would like to get into is, okay, here we go. So, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, man. All right, so looking at the S&P right now, right? Now, you see volume has been drifting away ever since we got to around like June area. It's definitely, let's like use this line. So I'd say this is like the average that we were seeing up until Q2. And then it kind of shifted away once we got to Q3, and you could see right between May and June, that's when the volume started drifting down. So as you can see, the volume here is still drifting down, and as we're in September, I mean, it could be different this year. I mean, the markets aren't like it normally is. So I'm not an expert. This is just for financial education on how to get started in reading. So this is just something to be mindful about, because if we do see a drop off, we could definitely be coming back to this 447 number right here, which was the last dip buyback. But if we dip further than that, I could see us retesting the low 4400s, which would be a pretty significant drop off and definitely cause maybe a panic sell-off, but not too sure if that will actually happen. But this is just something to be mindful about, because you don't want to get caught. Just because I brought in the options and equities are bullish doesn't mean that necessarily everything is going to go green, even though that's what it seems like right now. So as we start the second week of September, looking at something to signify, we haven't had a 5% pullback in some time, so that's something I'm definitely looking into. So as we get to the NASDAQ now, so the NASDAQ has been pushing higher and higher. So if we take this September 20 line, right, and we come up here, oh, now the only reason I say oof is because oh yeah. Alright, so this is one thing. So where we are, there is heavy resistance at this line. As you can see, it touched it once and then tried to touch it up here, and then obviously we had a dip back here on August 19th. Like I said, that 17th through the 20th, there's always somewhat of a sell-off there. And then we come back and we retest this line of resistance. So looking to break over that in the NASDAQ. But if we do have a potential sell-off, could definitely see it coming back, retesting the 1400s. But first, we have to see if this 1500, like 15200 holds from that dip buying. If it does, then that's a good sign, and obviously we'll remain bullish. But if we dip below that, looking for that high 1400 number to hold, as you could see that this was previous resistance as well as support. So looking for that strong hold there on any pullback. So that's something to just be on the lookout for if you do see any red days or the certain sectors that you're in are having a slight pullback. So let's look at the triple Qs. Okay, so the triple Qs. So the triple Qs are trying to push higher. Same thing now here. It's just riding this. Oh, now, okay. So we actually did March 20th to now. We've just been riding it, right? So this is the price channel that we're trading in, and now what you could see is this right here, right? We broke out clean there, and now what you're starting to see is the same exact thing, but a little more stronger bullish. The reason being is because we had a higher low here, right? And even here, right? Once we retested that resistance line, if I want to create a line going all the way back, right? Obviously it's all-time highs, but the uptrend resistance line, if I wanted to show that, which here. So it is all the way back here from that gap. So if I was to do this right now, it broke that support line right here. Let's say how many times did it test it. If you want to get real technical, it tested it once, twice, 3, 4, 5. And then on the 6th time, it actually broke, well, really 6th, 7th, 8th time it broke through that, and then it took a few days for us to get back above there. But and as you can see, there's triangles being made, right, where I made these lines. Now this signals breakouts. This is how you could initiate that things are moving upwards and in a bullish momentum. Same thing as we were looking at with the indexes, right, is the volume sell-off. Now we see some spikes, but relatively the volume is kind of short, and we haven't seen volume like we did from Q1 of 2021 since then. I mean, there's only a few days like May 13th, 11th, even July 19th. Just a few days that you could actually compare the past volume days with, and that's just something to be mindful at. September started, we dipped very low, and that could be people on vacation, people don't want to deal with trading, like that could be their time off. So who knows what will happen going into this second week. Something to be mindful about. But if we do see a slight sell-off, I could definitely see us dipping back to like the 370 mark, and then before that, or if we go past that, 360. Now those will be vicious moves, so they will probably come in strides. Don't know when, that's the thing. It's easy to call something out when you see it, but it's harder to call it when you don't see it. So as of right now, if we make a strong move above this upward resistance line, then there's absolutely nothing to worry about. So today I could see us maybe hitting all-time highs again in the Qs, and then as we get to the SPY, so it's just been an ongoing trend, hugging that upwards line of resistance, upwards trend, and then the downwards. you see that this line came very close. Now, don't get me wrong, that these need to be adjusted when you're doing it. So for instance, if I was to do this line back here, like when this happened, right, this line would be going this way. And then once it pops up, I'd be waiting for that line to break through. And I'll show you what I mean. So like that line, right, would have been used like this. And then every day you would have to fix it just because. And then here, you see that it crossed this line, but it was a false breakthrough. And then it came back up, up. Now we saw some resistance up here, and then we dropped. Now again, that July 19th area, I told you, past 5 months, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Something has been happening right around these 3 days that a sell-off occurs and the dip is bought. And then we reclaim that high. Well, yeah. And then we reclaim that high and we push higher as the days go on. And then another dip in August. So let's bring it up here. So every single time you would have to redo these lines, and the reason why I redid it is just to show you the past, right? So you can't, obviously these lines would be going like this if I made this in the past, but since it's already up here, you see these false breakthroughs that this is having. Now this isn't a coincidence, right? It's literally every dip has created this trend right here, this line. So we dipped through it, the dip was bought. Now this would have scared me with that big red candle, because that's a big body of a candle. And then this green candle comes back, and then we come back barely, and then we finally cross over. And now we're pretty much we're tight walking on this line. So if we do fall back through this line, we will definitely come back down to the low 440s and retest that support level, see how strong it really is in the SPY. So that's something to keep on your radar as we get into the new week. And then a couple stocks I would like to get into. AMC is looking pretty bullish this pre-market. It was over 445 not too long ago, and now as you can see it is below that. So $45. Got nothing on CNBC. Alright, so AMC right now pre-market pushing up to $45, as you could see. So you could see that I got this Fibonacci level here, right? And this is a daily chart still. So we came all the way down to about low of $28.91, which it's at. And then that has been the true support level of this monstrous move from AMC. So from $72.62 back in June to August 5th, we've been on a downtrend. But we found support and we bounced off that support. And now we're finding heavy resistance at the $48 range. So as you can see, this line, we got a low cup and handle forming here, which is a bullish signal. And today, like I said, pushing up $45 pre-market. So this could be a pretty good week for AMC. But one thing I just want to point out is the volume again, because with volume increasing here, right, and you see the green bars, this is what is causing the gamma and the short squeeze by more buyers putting pressure on the sellers to close out their positions. And then as you see from the high to now where we have the support, that volume drifted off. Once we broke every support level, the volume drifted and drifted, and then one day we'll have a big, nice green candle, but it's not remotely close to what we saw pre-squeeze, as in gamma and short. So now we're starting to see some volume pick up a little bit, but then the first few days of September, not as much. So today, people coming back from vacation, it's a Tuesday. Looking at that volume today to see where we really push in terms of AMC on where we're going, because AMC could easily push to the $50 zone, and that $6 move, well, now $5 move to some stocks is a massive move. But as the past has shown, I mean, there was times, for instance, where were we here? Was it this one? No. I believe it was this one, July 20th. Yeah, we hit a low of $35.13, right? And it just drove the stock all the way up to $44.39, where pretty much is what? It closed at $44 on Friday, so it's almost around that range. I mean, so the fact that we had that $9 move in one day, right, is absolutely insanity. And then even on August 24th, we had about what? A $12 move. It went from $36.35 to a high of $48.20. Now that's a nasty move. That's a $12 move. So I don't know any stocks that are making that in a day, other than obviously the short / gamma squeeze plays. But this is something to be mindful about when you are looking at a stock. You need to look at the long-term trend and impact, because we've seen that it hit the support down here, and then since then it only retested that level once. So that's a strong sign, as it's just up, okay, pull back, up, okay, let's pull back a little bit, up, time to pull back. And what are we doing? We are coming back to like previous days highs and closes. So this is something to be mindful about, to where you're finding support. So even though this is the daily, right? Now let's zoom into the 30 minutes. Let's see what's going on in the 30 minutes. So you can see that even my lines are still there, and we formed that and we pushed higher. Now what was this? August 24th, we made that bullish move, and then we came back down. We retested support at $40, pushed upwards, and now $42 is the support level that we are seeing on the 30-minute time frame. So now what I'm expecting for AMC to do is look for that push past $48, because if we get past $48 to that $50 zone, you're going to see some whales jump in, driving this stock up, because showing that it could get up to the $50 zone again. Look, when it got to 50, we pushed to 60 and then 70. It was a running massacre to all-time highs for AMC. So if we get to that 50 level mark, expect to see some big whales jump in to drive that price up, causing a gamma squeeze, because we do have that gap to fill. Even though we filled it here, we got one here, this is kind of 2 and 1. So this is something to be mindful about, as we are going to see the resistance at this level. So as soon as we pass that, that is going to show a strong move upwards, and the momentum will continue if those whales jump in. So I'm definitely keeping an eye out for AMC. A new one that I saw is HUT. Now this is a mining company. Now this is the 30-minute chart. So from Friday to now, right? Friday it opened at $9.50 and now is pushing $10.79. So massive moves are being made on certain stocks with high interest. But this stock does have a lot of gaps, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. So this is something that I would definitely be very, very cautious about getting into, just because 30-minute chart, you got a gap from the second to the third, and obviously support held at $9.47 here. So that's a good sign. So actually, let's zoom out to the day. Alright, so massive cup and handle here, as this makes sense as it pushes higher. But what I do also want to point out is, wow, how high did that go? So this was February. It went as high as $13, and right now we're at $10.79. So if this makes a vicious move higher still, as it looks like it is from pre-market, this is looking to test $13. If it tests $13, probably a pullback to, I'd say, around 11, depending on how vicious the move is. And this is something that I'll definitely be keeping my eyes out on, as another possible squeeze play is VIH. So now we have gaps to fill at like the 18 range, as well as we filled these on the way down, as you could see. So on Friday, it was a nasty move, opened at $10.80, hit $11.57. So right off the bat, this is strong volume leading up to this, right? So as we zoom in, we'll go to the 30-minute time frame. It was just consolidating at these low levels, and now it's at $11.26, pushing higher. So as we are looking in at this 30-minute time frame, you could see it really only started popping as soon as September happened. So one thing I will point out is on the 30 minutes, right, this was the high of $11.56. Now on September 3rd at 7:30? Yeah. Stock made a breakthrough, but the volume wasn't more than it was on the down day. So this stock could see a pullback down to, I'd say, high 10s, but below $11, or it could see a pullback to $11 exactly, or 11 and change. So that is something that I'm going to keep my eyes out on, as this could be a big play. As I said, looking back, right, I mean, this is a nasty move from April. Now even if it hits $15, $16, it's still a nasty move, but we're going to catch hard resistance at that level because of the gap down. So looking forward to seeing what VIH could do in the near term. And then another one that I have my eyes out for is MMAT. So let me zoom out to the daily chart. Whew. So daily chart, we hit a high of $21.70 back in June, and then now we are starting to see a bullish trend as we caught support at that $2.91 range, and now we're pushing higher. So the real test is to see that $6.93, see if we push back, because we're going to have that gap to fill right between $7 and $9. So I am going to be looking at that as we get more involved with the short squeeze plays. Next is one of the new stocks that I'm looking into for long term. Now pre-market we're at 1050, so that's a great sign, because I told you I wasn't going to buy in until we filled this and got over this resistance right here. Now this is where technicals, understanding fundamentals, and also knowing what you're doing comes into play, right? Because if you're looking at this long term, I mean, the fact that it came down to $6, and let's say you throw all your eggs in one basket here at $10.50, right? Now we could see a drastic pullback, and then if you're not paying attention to it, right, then it's kind of bye-bye, or maybe it pulls back to $8.47 and blast off. You just don't know. So when it comes to trading and even investing, you still have to look at the long-term impact and to see where resistance is and how it will impact your investment or trade in the future, right? Because the goal is to make money and not to lose money. So I didn't make any moves, but until this crosses and holds support, holds support at this resistance line, once it breaks through, that is going to be my signal to get in for the long-term play. And then obviously if it dips back below, I'll probably dollar cost average in, and that's only because we saw this double, or you could really say triple bottom down here, and then once that has happened, we broke upwards. So now you know the floor is at $6 pretty much. We'll just call it $6 is the floor, and the ceiling is what, $19.95, so $20 right now. So I mean, even if you put a little in here and then you add it and add and add and add, you will still make a pretty penny in the long term, even if this was a swing trade. But you got to be mindful. If this is heavy resistance, we could definitely see a pullback probably to around the low 10s, high 9s, setting up for a bigger move and stronger move, breaking that resistance upwards. So definitely going to be keeping my eyes out on that, as well as GDRX. I found this over the weekend. So this has a short interest of double of what AMC's is at right now. I believe AMC's is somewhere between 17 and 20%. I think it's like 18, but I'm not exactly sure. But if this breaks above $41.55, where we see this resistance at that high $41 levels, I mean, we're just looking to refill. Well, yeah, see, gap there, and then this massive gap down here, and then where we had a double bottom here, and then we moved higher. So I mean, this could be just looking at the technicals and going from here to here, right? What is this? The high was 64.22. I'm not gonna get perfect. So right here is the resistance. So the next resistance will be the high around $45. So this is definitely going to be something that I look for as a volume started to push upwards the past few days. And if this makes a nasty move sometime today, I might look to get into it just for a quick trade, because it seems like this stock could definitely have a massive pullback after having a very big green day. So having these two decently big green days, I think if a pullback is to happen, we are coming back below that $41 range. But hopefully we do push upwards over this long-term resistance first, and then this comes support, and then that is something I'm going to look for before I get in. So alright, so we got nothing new coming in. Future's still up, I believe. Now the future, everything is up other than stocks 600 and the crude oil. Alright, so S&P 500 could struggle this fall. Yes, obviously. I mean, like every other Q4, the fall is typically the worst time for the markets. But who knows with this time? I mean, the stocks might hit all-time highs in September, which will be very, very ironic. I do not see any signals in a pullback at this point in time, other than until the job market gets stronger. Can't see anything really happening. So BBIG trying to push upwards. So we're seeing some resistance at 820. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to push higher and break above that 820 level, preferably like 850, 860, to really push higher. And I think if we have some strong, you see, even on this day, it wasn't necessarily strong volume green 30-minute candle right here, but it did the job and pushed it all the way up to $11.90. So this to me is telling me that some shorts have covered or closed their positions. Two reasons. The volume is low, right? And then the next reason is the stock price action. We opened at $7.85, and in 30 minutes we hit a high of $11.90. So the fact that the volume was equivalent to August 31st, and look at that candle compared to the other candle, right? So that's signifying that positions were closed, and this drove the stock price up. And obviously, there needs to be more buying pressure than selling pressure. So the fact that it came up back here, right, and it retested this resistance level at $7.92, but then it broke past it, everyone just saw it and did not want to get screwed like back here. So they just closed at their positions, drove it up, and then once they reached that long-term resistance area, obviously sold off. And then we had a double top here, which is signifying that strong resistance level, and then we've been downward since. Caught support at $7.03, more so $6.88, and then we've been steadily bouncing higher, creating lower highs and higher lows. So this is something I'm going to keep my eyes out for as we get ready for the new trading week. Don't have any economic data coming out today, but we do have data coming out this week, which I will cover later on. So this is what I'm looking out for, as well as AMD, Nvidia, all these crazy stocks that have gaps. Just because, I mean, it's just ever since this is a 30-minute time. Oh wow, it's all the way back here or down there. So on the daily, right, we see, oh wow. So wow, this actually, we got this strong move upwards, right? I thought I was in line with that. And then we're going from here. Let's do the wicks. I mean the candles. So now we're seeing support right here, right after we broke through on that strong candle. But even then, the volume wasn't that necessarily big. So we got this bull flag forming, right? And we did slip through here, but we caught support and bounced up. So if this breaks through this level, obviously we will come back down and touch the low hundreds. Possibly, I could see 105-ish. but then if we do break that level, the low 103s. So this is something that I'm keeping my eyes out for, because if we do break above that, we're looking at what, 114 for that resistance area, and then most likely driving that stock up, as this was one of the options that I brought up earlier in this video. So that is something to definitely keep your eyes out for if you're looking for a quick swing trade or anything along those lines. So I just got actually a notification on a holding of Lulu. MKM Partners actually announced a price target of $419 on Lululemon. So we have a double bottom here, a Doge candle, and now pre-market we're up because probably of that price target that I think was given, about 5 minutes ago, so that makes sense. And then as we could see the price action right now in the 30 minutes, let's look at this. So 30 minutes, so we're coming back down here, testing that support level of 388, which is looking promising if we do make a move upwards like pre-market already shows. So now here, this is definitely something I'm looking at as, say, the long-term resistance. This should be support area. So if we close above 390 today, I will definitely, well, let's say around this range, 390 to 391, the high 390s, we'll definitely be looking at this for a little swing play, because with that price target of 419, I mean, this could really run to 419 within the next week or so if people get into it. But Lululemon's one of those stores that I feel like will never go, and it's always something that you could get in here or there. I have this in my long term, so not touching that yet. But all right, let's see what else we got going on. Let's check out another one, ATER. Ooh-wee. All right, so we are trying to close this gap right here. So if we get to this gap, right, let's call it $8.10 to $5.50. So we're in between, and we tried to close it, but we see we got heavy resistance there. So now what we need to look out for is to break above that and to close above $8.20 to really make this support and to close this gap. Or if we don't get over that $8.20, then I mean, we're probably looking back, going lower. Yeah, we're going back lower, probably to even that $3 range. So that's something to keep your minds out for. Now, don't get me wrong, these aren't necessarily all day trades. These are trades that I'm looking for. I always bring up that you don't have to be the first one to the party. And the reason why I say that is because, let's just say this was on your radar back here, right? On August 27th or 26th. And then it made this big move here. So let's just say you were doing this, right? And you were like, wow, it needs to hold $5.45, right? So on August 27th, it hit a high of $6.72 and closed at $6. So I might get in there at that point, because this opened up at $5.17, hit a low of $4.48, and closed at $5.50. So the fact it closed 59 cents higher, I probably would have got in here anticipating a stronger move upwards. And it did happen. We hit a high of $9 and then immediately came back down. So that would have been a good signal to get in for an overnight trade. And it's hard to figure that out, but when you get more involved and more advanced into reading charts and trading and investing, these are the type of signals that you need to be able to find. So definitely looking into this. As pre-market, we're down right now, trying to push to Friday's close, So I don't really see anything that is giving me any doubt on a green day today, other than HUT making moves and VIH making moves as well. Those are the new short interest plays that I've seen, as well as GDRX. Those are just things that I like to keep on my radar. I set alerts so I could look and see what is going on throughout the day, because if it's a bullish signal for a day trade, I mean, you gotta know your stuff before you just hit the buy button. So I never want to rush into one, and this is why you always have to do your homework and research before anything even happens, because you don't want to get caught holding the bag. You want to make sure you know your stuff and you know your ins and your outs before it happens, or there's a good shot that you will be holding the bag. So that's all I got for you today. I believe futures are still up. Yep, futures are still up. Let's see what this guy's got to say for this moment.
Purely optimistic, not secular or structural.
So you're not investing in digital rocks? I'm just kidding.
No, I leave that to others.
Okay.
What about Bored Apes?
Bored Apes, all of it, none of it for Mohammed. Thank you. Good to see you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Melissa.
Coming up, this morning's biggest stock movers, and then tonight, back to business. Labor Day has come and gone. Americans are coming back from vacations. Kids are going back to school. Where are the opportunities for investors, and how has COVID impacted the return to the workplace? That is tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on a special edition of Fast Money.
All right, there you have it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Have a green day and go long.